Good evening, folks. It being 6:02 p.m. on Tuesday, July 29th, and a quorum being present, I will call to order the Plymouth Select Board for Tuesday, July 29th. Please join the board in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section
Recording
20,
in progress.
Any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of the Select Board after notifying the chair, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair so as to not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At present, we are aware of only the local scene recording this meeting. Also pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and signed into law on March 28th, 2025. This meeting will be conducted via remote means and in person. Members of the public who wish to watch this meeting may do so in the following manner. Tune into the local scene government cable access channels Comcast 9 or Verizon 47. Or you may watch the meeting live on the local scene website or through YouTube. Members of the board are here in public. Your TV sets are not incorrect. My name is Dave Golden. I'm the vice chair of this board, but our chairman, Mr. Canty, is presently in air, so I'll be chairing the meeting this evening. Members of the public may be participating in person or remote. All right, so the first item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing for a transfer of an all-alcohol in-holder license from Anchor Hospitality LLC, doing business as John Carver Inn and Spa at 25 Summer Street, with Archit Patel as the manager. It's being transferred to MVC Hospitality Management, Inc., doing business as John Carver Inn and Spa at the same address, with Christopher Iori as manager. In accordance with Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held at Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street on Tuesday, July 29th, 2025 at 6:01 p.m. to consider the application for a transfer of an all-alcohol in-holder license from the party that I just described to MVC Hospitality Management. Description of the premises is as follows: 3 floors. First floor consists of function room, cocktail lounge, dining room, meeting rooms, kitchen, laundry, 2 administrative offices, 3 utility and storage rooms, lobby, guest rooms, gift shop, and restroom. Second and third floors each contain 39 rooms, 78 rooms total. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should plan to attend this meeting. So I'll open the hearing, and I think we have representatives from the John Carver Inn joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, my name is Adam Barnowski. I'm an attorney on behalf of the applicant, MVC Hospitality Management, Inc. We are here regarding an application for a change of ownership and some related applications related to my client's acquisition of the John Carver Inn. With me tonight on Zoom is Mohsen Vasali. He's the VP and Director of Financial Operations for the Mount Vernon Company. And to my right is Christopher Iori. He's the proposed manager of record. He is the owner and operator of IBK Dining LLC, which is the previously approved entity which operates food and beverage at the hotel. As the chair mentioned, we are here on an application for a transfer of the Section 12 all alcoholic beverage in-holders license, the approval of a management agreement with IBK, and a pledge of license and inventory to Citizens Bank. The proposed transfer of the liquor license is related to the acquisition of the hotel. The transaction here included both the purchase of the real estate, the underlying real estate, and the hotel from the prior owner. It's all part of the Mount Vernon Company, which is an award-winning real estate investment firm based in Boston. They have numerous hospitality ventures, including Boston, Nantucket, and Portsmouth. They're very happy to be here with you tonight. As we go through components of the application, and I will be relatively brief, I just wanted to note that from a public perspective and from a consumer perspective, there are no changes to the operation of the hotel. The name, hours, license, premise, description, restaurant, hotel, spa will remain as you know them. As a way of background, John Carver Inn is located at 25 Summer Street. It's a 3-story hotel originally opened in 1969 with 80 guest rooms, suites, and on-site parking. There's a spa, a game room, function rooms, a fitness center, pool, and a full-service restaurant. The liquor license scope will remain unchanged, as I mentioned. It primarily serves as an amenity to the hotel, the functions rooms, the lounge, and the restaurant. The property contains over 60,000 square feet of space, seats for 185, and has a capacity of 450. Currently, there is a management agreement that's in place with IBK and the former owner. What we're here really is on an application for the approval of an assignment of that management agreement. So again, there are no changes to the operation. IBK will continue to operate in the same manner as it does now. As I mentioned, Mr. Iori is the proposed manager of record. He's owned and operated IBK since February of 2021. May of 21, thank you. And he has over 15 years of experience in the hospitality industry. He oversees management and sale and service of food and beverage throughout the hotel. All bar staff and wait staff are TIPS trained. They have in-house training regarding alcohol awareness and service. As an aside, as the board might be aware, CJ's is currently closed. There are some repairs and enhancements that are being made to that part of the hotel as part of the change of ownership here. Also here on a pledge, as security for the financing of both the hotel and the real estate, the lender Citizens requested a pledge of license and a pledge of the collateral. So fairly straightforward, but we're happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Excellent, thank you. Before we get into questions, is there anyone other than the applicant in person who would like to speak in favor? Anyone online? Excellent. Is there anyone in person who would like to speak against the application? Anyone online? Excellent. Since there are no folks who are in favor or against, I'll turn it over to the board for questions. Ms. Iaquinto.
Yeah, thank you very much for that overview. That was really helpful. I'm just curious about your timing on opening under new management. Do you have a timeline for that?
Well, I mean, management will be consistent throughout. I understand there might be a few more weeks of repairs required. We're trying to get up and running as soon as possible.
Okay, that's my only question. Thanks.
Other questions? Excellent. Hearing and seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Excellent. Mr. Cohan makes a motion to approve the transfer of the all alcohol in-holder license. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Quinto?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And myself, yes. It is unanimous. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That brings us into the licenses portion of our agenda. We have one-day malt and wine licenses for Brews and Sips LLC, Second Wind Brewing Company. We have a pledge of license liquor associated with the hearing that we just conducted with the John Carver Inn. And we have a management and operation agreement with IBK Dining LLC. I'll leave it to the pleasure of the board. Do we want to take these separately or approve them as a group?
I'll move to move them as a group as presented.
Mr. Quinto makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Quinto?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. It is unanimous. That brings us to the administrative notes. We have 2 notes on here. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move them as a group.
Mr. Quinto makes the motion to approve as a group. Is there a second?
Second?
Excellent. And is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Quinto?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. The administrative notes are approved. That brings us into our main agenda items. Mr. Brindisi, I understand that the arts and history policy is, the updates are being tabled until after town meeting pending the creation of a historical commission?
That is correct, yes.
Excellent. So we'll move on then to the 1749 courthouse use policy and usage request form. We're being joined by Connor Anderson, our historic resource coordinator.
Hi, Connor Anderson, Historic Resource Coordinator for the town. The policy before you is just a usage policy for the courtroom, which is located on the second floor of the 1749 Courthouse Museum. Right now, the courthouse is primarily used by visitors during its open season, which is from June until October. About 6,500 people per year visit the museum. This is part of an aim to try and utilize the building more. I believe that the select board used to meet there every Thanksgiving, if I'm not mistaken, up until about 2015. So I've been trying to get more use out of that room. Over this past off season, the Antiquarian Society and the Massachusetts Warren Society put on a reenactment. There was supposed to be a group of homeschooled students who were going to do a mock debate or a mock trial. Unfortunately, they needed ADA accessibility to the building, and the building does not have that. One of the climate action plan meetings was held there, and then in November, I've been approached to see if we could do a wedding ceremony, just the ceremony part, not the reception. So I figured now's as good a time as ever to put up a policy for usage. It's pretty boilerplate, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there questions from the board? Mr. Cohen?
Connor, thank you very much for putting together this policy. Obviously, we need a policy to let the residents know the building is available for events of this magnitude, and obviously, we want to have the appropriate paperwork for people to fill out. But I agree with you. I think that this is, I'm a big fan of Town Square. I think it is one of the more historical longitude and latitudes that we have under our control here in the town of Plymouth. And anything that we can do to enhance the visitor's experience to Town Square. Plymouth does have the oldest continually operated municipal building in North America, starting in 1657 from this location. And that's something that we want to continue that tradition, but also find ways where we can generate a revenue stream that we can reinvest in the maintenance and the care and the protection in the upgrades of the building. So I see this policy as a step in that direction. So I've had a chance to look at it, and thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you. Ms. Iaquinto?
Yeah, Connor, thank you so much. I had an opportunity to attend a meeting in there. It's a very cool space, and I could imagine how lovely a wedding ceremony would be in
Yeah.
there. So that's great. Just to follow up on Mr. Cohen's comment, will there be a rental fee associated with this, or?
So right now, there's no revolving fund, but the plan is to establish a pattern of this is worthy of a revolving fund. And then once that happens, the board would then set a rental fee, and then hopefully town meeting would approve a revolving fund. So that is the aim that's the path I'm going towards, yes.
It sounds great, thank you.
Excellent. Any further questions? Mr. Brindisi, did you have something? Excellent. All right, well, I'll bring it back to the board. Is there a motion to approve the 1749 courtroom use policy and the 1749 courtroom usage request?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Cohen makes the motion. Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Is there further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Quinto?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. Thank you, Connor.
Thank you.
We're moving at a steady clip here tonight, folks. Next item on our agenda is the Affordable Housing Trust Policy Amendment. We're being joined by Derek Brindisi, our town manager, who will give us some insight into the updates that are being made.
Great, Derek Brindisi, town manager. So before the board this evening is a revision to the Plymouth Affordable Housing Trust policy. So this came up about a month ago, and what we realized the town clerk brought to our attention that the currently standing policy, which is, should be in your packet, I'm holding it here, is inconsistent with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 55C. As you all know, town meeting accepted this statute back in 2006. And so the article just simply read that the town would establish an affordable housing trust. So then sometime thereafter, the current structure was created. But then when we review this, we realize that it's inconsistent and actually doesn't comply with current state law. So the policy that's before you this evening is basically an exact replica of the statute. So we would be then fully compliant with the state law. You will see on page 1 of the policy that we have recommended some types of individuals that we think would be important. They have credentials and experience and background that would be important to serve on the trust. For example, we recommend that an individual that's got affordable housing background and experience, someone in the banking industry, and someone certainly with a legal background. But again, these are just recommendations. Certainly open to any other suggestions or recommendations that the board has. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Brindisi? Mr. Cohen?
Did you?
You go ahead.
I might go after you go, right? Okay, so I was just, I know that the Housing Trust has been meeting in discussing these changes, and I know that the members of the trust have, engaged your office in letting you know their thought process around this. There's one thing that was brought to my attention by a member of the Housing Trust, and that was, I see that the Planning Department is involved in a permitting process around inclusionary zoning, which ends up with orders of condition that outline the number of affordable units that might be constructed on site, or maybe what monies might be given to the town in lieu of, and the trust is taking in that money in obviously dedicating it to affordable housing in different locations. I see here, I'd like to include, continue to include the Director of Planning and Development in that process. Right now we have, it looks as if that wouldn't be the case. If that could be, I would like to see if the board would entertain that as staying in the Housing Trust, is making sure that someone in that capacity is participating in the trust. It is the Plymouth Affordable Housing Trust, and this Department of Planning and Development is engaging these petitioners, and they're on the front line of this activity. And I think that cross-pollination or that interaction between the Planning Department and the Housing Trust in terms of what is coming online, I'd like to keep that conduit going. I know that we're, in the very near future, we'll be transitioning from one Director of Planning Development to a new Planning Development, or if anything, hold off until the new Planning Development person comes on board and whether or not they want to adhere to that position. But I do believe the functionality of the Housing Trust for the town of Plymouth can only be increased by this interaction. So I was noting that. It'd be interesting what the other board members saw in the policy that they had read, concerns with, or what they thought about that component of it.
Mr. Brindisi, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I mean, I think as Mr. Cohen points out, that certainly the Director of Planning has had a long-standing seat on the Affordable Housing Trust, and I agree that the connection to what's happening in the Office of Community Development is really important to what the Affordable Housing Trust is trying to advance. I guess my only suggestion was that maybe it would read, if the board was in agreement, the Director of Planning or designee, because there are a lot of other planning officials who work in that department that may be more closely aligned to the work of the Affordable Housing Trust, and so the director could certainly identify the most appropriate person within his or her staff to serve.
If we
So that's
if
my
we
only
were to
suggestion.
insert that, where would you put that?
Under Board of Trustees appointed by the Select Board, so that'd be Section 2.1. there are 4 bullets there. I would suggest that if this was going to be a requirement, bullet 4 is a recommendation as far as the folks that we think need to have that background, but maybe you would insert another bullet that would require the planning director or designee, so that it's very clear that this isn't a suggestion, it's actual requirement.
Go ahead.
Probably want to designate to give that future person some further guidance that if the director can serve in this capacity or someone he designates in his department.
Yes, agreed, yep.
Yeah, I really like that idea to insert that. I think that that's really important to maintain that connection with the planning department. I know that that was something that the current Affordable Housing Trust really valued and relied on. So if we could make that official, I think that would be great. And my other question was, I'm just curious if this structure, this new structure that we're looking at, which makes sense to me in my head, but if this in any other way changes the way this board will operate based on its current configuration.
No, I don't, I mean, I would defer to the chair, the sitting chair, Kathy, who's sitting here right now, her thoughts, but basically what we're proposing is that we comply with the state law. So I don't, in fact, if you look at the state law, it's very expansive. And I'm a little concerned of the state law. I think that so the way the state law reads is that cities and towns can't modify the statute unless they create a bylaw. And so we don't have a bylaw in place right now. So basically what we're proposing is that we adopt the statute as written. And if there are some things that are concerning, and I have some reservations of how the state law reads, that we'd come back at a future town meeting and then create a bylaw that may restrict some of their authority. So I'll give you a really good example that under the statute, it gives the authority to Affordable Housing Trust to hire their own attorneys. We have town council. So, but under the way the statute reads, the chair could go ahead and use Affordable Housing Trust money to hire their own counsel. So I find that concerning, that we would have separate counsel for a separate board. So those are the types of changes that I would recommend that we make through a bylaw change.
So you're not proposing that we adopt this because we've already adopted it, correct? Through town meeting action?
I think that what I'm proposing is that you adopt what's
we
been
align our
submitted
policy.
as written with the edits that we just discussed, only because the existing structure is already printed, and I think it needs to be very clear how the Affordable Housing Trust is going to move forward, operate moving forward.
So we're just aligning the statute, or the
That's right.
policy with the statute.
Yeah, so, but as a policy adopted by the select board.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Brindisi? Mr. Cohen, did you want to make a motion that we insert the Director of Planning and Development under Section 2I?
I would make a motion to that effect.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right. Mr. Cohen makes the motion, Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Is there discussion on the matter? Mr. Quinto?
In that motion, was that of his designee?
Yes, but specifically to the department.
Right,
Yeah.
but,
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're accepting Mr. Quinto's amendment to your
Yes,
motion?
I am
Do
accepting.
you maintain your second?
I do, yes.
Excellent. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the roll. Mr. Quinto?
yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it's unanimous. Ms. Dunn, did you want to speak on anything that Mr. Brindisi just brought up?
Just one.
Can you come on up?
I thank you for shining light on the Affordable Housing Trust, which is so important to the town of Plymouth. And I thank you for allowing me to speak. There were a couple of things that I would like to see, and one of them is this Director of Planning and Development. I don't feel that that person should necessarily have to be a voting member. This is one of the things that was objected to. they could be, it could be mandatory that they attend and inform the board without having to be a voting member, if that was more satisfactory to the planning director. We'll have a new planning director shortly, and we really have depended heavily on Mr. Hartman, who has attended very, very consistently our meetings, and he has the information. I feel like without having the Director of Planning and Development, that's our pipeline to what's going on in town. Ahead of how else will we be getting information, frankly? And the select board person that will be fulfilling their responsibility on the board now, because that wasn't the case in the past, they can't be expected to know all of what the planning and development person knows. So whether that person is a non-voting member, I don't think is as important as him attending the meetings and being able to inform the board. So that's the way I feel about that. The other question I would have is, will this take place immediately after? Okay. And
Yes.
so at our next meeting, a select board member will be coming, and some of the liaison people can still come, but they won't be voting members, such as the Plymouth Housing Authority. So that essentially, this way I read it.
Is that correct, Mr. Brindisi?
I would have to look at the current makeup of the existing body, and.
It just doesn't list the plan,
Right, the Plymouth Housing Authority member is probably the only one that's different on the existing membership, so you're absolutely correct. So I can work with Jade on that, yeah.
so, I mean, that's all right, but I would still like them to be a liaison and come to meetings. Again, we're all in this housing future together, the Plymouth Housing Authority, the Redevelopment Authority, Habitat for Humanity, but the town, people who represent the town, Housing and Redevelopment, really should be liaisons to our committee and attend the meetings.
I don't think there would be anything that would prevent them from sending a member. I don't think there'd be anything that would prevent them from sending a member as a liaison to the committee. You could even have them as chair, at your pleasure, report on their activity as part of that agenda. So I don't think this policy change would preclude you from doing any of that.
Okay, that's fine. So I have a call in to the person who is the Plymouth Housing Authority, and if they want to stay on, they can, but if they prefer not to, then they're currently a voting member, you see. Mm-hmm. If they don't continue to want to be a voting member, then we can have another person serve on our board.
Yeah, I think there's going to have to be, Mr. Brindisi, a conversation with the town clerk about the current makeup of the committee and what our responsibility is to appoint new members should this policy be approved.
Yeah.
But I think, and Ms. McElrath can confirm this, I believe that there's a element to the general law that allows current committee members to continue to serve in their role until qualified members are identified as replacements. So I think the work of the authority, the trust can continue until such time as we make our new appointments.
Yeah, absolutely. So based upon the recommendation that was made tonight, we went ahead and recommended a banker, an attorney, and then at-large. So that's what I'm saying. I'd like to look at the makeup because the at-large seats, in theory, could be from someone from the Housing Authority, right? So it doesn't exclude the Housing Authority, just give them an at-large seat.
Right.
Those members could still end up being,
So I can work with the town clerk and with Jade Anderson tomorrow. We can look at the sitting members and then send out reappointment letters, just so it's very clear.
Mr. Cohen?
Just one, Ms. Dunn, you've been serving on the Housing Trust now for how long?
I should know, but, on the trust,
Yeah.
since about 210.
Okay.
No, that's wrong. Maybe 217.
So in that capacity, looking at this new policy, is there anything else that you see that could improve the performance of the Plymouth Housing Trust?
Well, I firmly believe, and I'd like to make a further presentation at a later date, I firmly believe we need a housing coordinator in a town the size of Plymouth. Towns that have housing coordinators whose full-time or even part-time job, but it really, in a town like Plymouth, is a full-time job, really make a lot more progress. It's not a job really for a volunteer with a limited amount of time. These positions of housing coordinator can interface with state agencies and the time-consuming, write grants, et cetera. There's a lot of money out there that we can get for town affordable housing in town if we have people, more full-time people, salaried people. I have a job description from Falmouth. Falmouth is very progressive in their housing, and they have a full-time coordinator that's appeared to our trust, and I've consulted with her on many occasions. That's what we really need, and so I strongly suggest that we start to think about where we can get the money to pay someone for that job, and then our trust will be so much stronger. So
I'm glad that you're pointing out this concern. I do think we have to gravitate to this idea of having someone that can facilitate all the different housing organizations that are operating internally around the town, not only just the Housing Trust, but we have to recognize there's numerous nonprofits, organizations operating in our town, bringing housing to different demographics, and this would be an excellent way of internally and externally to the larger community coordinating the housing, because it is a very complicated process, and someone that could navigate on a multitude of levels here in Town Hall, here in the community, and with the state, especially when it comes to grant writing and looking for funding opportunities.
Yes.
That's something that would, that I think that as a community, we should really gravitate to having a reasonable conversation about somebody in this capacity.
yes, I would greatly appreciate,
Thank you.
serious consideration of that by this current select board. So, thank you for taking this under your wing. I know you're very, very busy. So, thanks.
Thank you. So we approved an amendment to the amended policy, Derek, but we still need to
Yes.
take, I believe, a vote to approve the policy in whole, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Is there anything further from the board before I take a motion? Hearing and seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the amended Affordable Housing Trust Policy, including the revisions made by Mr. Cohen's motion.
So
Excellent.
moved.
Ms. Iaquinto makes the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Cohen seconds. Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the roll. Mr. Quinto?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. Excellent. That concludes our agenda proper. We will now move into the public comment section of the agenda. Is there anyone from the public who is in person who would like to speak? I saw Mr. McKay, Mr. Lyden, and then Mr. Desloge. And Mr. Sirico.
Good evening, George McKay, Chair of Precinct 8 in Cedarville. I just wanted to say tonight, thank you to the Select Board, and thank you to the Director of Public Works, Bill Coyle, and thank you to David Gould to support the effort we're making to determine whether the drinking water is safe in Cedarville. We have a report coming out momentarily of the sampling that was done in the spring, and hopefully the contaminants have been contained. If they haven't, then we've got to take some immediate action so the people in Cedarville that are still on well water don't have their water contaminated. But I wanted to say thank you tonight to everybody helping us.
You're welcome. Thank you. Mr. Lyden?
Steve Lyden, I went to the community preservation meeting the other night, and I heard all about Memorial Hall. A lot of it I knew for a while. It took a long time for that building to get like that. And I know, I don't think it was anyone's fault, but we had so much going on with fire stations, schools, school roofs, and everything else. But I think it's time that we make a decision, and I hope Thursday night, that the Preservation Committee will vote to give the money, because if not, and it's not going to, an override's not going to pass. So if we don't have the money to fix it, I think we should just sell it before it falls down and it's worth absolutely nothing. The building's in really tough shape, and, we can't wait, we can't wait much longer. We've waited so long now, and that's the way it's the position it's in now. So I hope that the CPC will support, giving the money for that. The other thing is, I just want to tell everybody in Castle Court, stay cool, because I know it's hot. And I know a lot of you still don't have air conditioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lyden. Mr. Desloges?
Yeah, hi, Art Desloges. I'm speaking in my new role as Chair of the League of Women Voters Affordable Housing Committee. So we support the Affordable Housing Trust in in all of the projects they do, and we attend the meetings and we give them advice as well where we can. Just three quick points. I support absolutely everything that Kathy, Ms. Dunn, went through. And I think that would be a very big contribution. I've attended many of the meetings, and the idea of having the Director of Planning and Policy there is crucial to pretty much the entire discussion, because a lot of the times they're discussing policy changes, and we need somebody there who actually can say, yeah, this is the best advice or the best practice to do with policy, has a knowledge of that, and then go back into the planning department and help facilitate that planning happens, all right? To have someone there who says, I'll get back to you, or I'll take it up with my boss, really isn't what the Affordable Housing Trust, isn't the best way to operate. So thank you for your support of that. The second point is, I'm glad that you redefined the makeup of the committee, far more in line with the way state committees are formed. You're looking not so much a prescriptive person of a title, but what their qualifications are and how they're going to contribute to the workings of the committee, and people who are actually willing to do the hard work of doing the research. And the final thing is, my group, in support of the trust, we do support a housing coordinator for Plymouth. And we have been part of the research team that has been going around to other municipalities, finding out what those housing coordinators do, what authorities they have, and how they can actually save money for the town. So we'll be reporting more on this to Ms. Dunn. Okay, thank you for your time very much.
Thank you. Mr. Sirico?
Yes, Jerry Sirico, Precinct 3. where it all began. I have to say that because my chair won't let me come anymore if I don't. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Cohen and Ms. Iaquinto on the new members, being new members, and I'd like to thank the board and Mr. Brandisi for letting me speak for a couple of minutes. And I promise I won't drive you crazy. I'm on the same topic as Mr. Lydon, Memorial Hall. Just want to tell you a little bit about Memorial Hall. It may be myself and Mr. Quintal are the only two that can remember. But number one, and you guys have a big decision to make too, so I hope you listen to everyone. High school graduation used to be held there. My class of 220 people went there, and they had after festivities. I was number 221 in the class, but they invited me anyway. Town meeting was held there. Used to go with my father. I did a lot of running for Cozy Barrett, running around. That's probably how I became interested in doing what I've done for the last 20-odd years. And sometimes I wish that they never encouraged me to do it. Thanksgiving dinner was served there. Very popular, wasn't it, Mr. Quintal? Mrs. Clausen, Margie Burgess's, the late Margie Burgess's mother, had roller skating there. She had a number of foster children. She was voted the Woman of the Year by WBZ one year. During bad times, cheese, eggs, milk, butter were passed out to those in need there. It came from the government. There was wrestling and boxing there. Tony Gallucci, who there's a plaque down by the old Puritan clothing, because he was a policeman and he crossed people there for years. He ran that. Recreation department had Halloween party there, Christmas party there, a bunch of events for the kids. Thanksgiving events that go along with Thanksgiving celebration, the bands and all that are held down there. Semi-pro basketball was on Saturday nights, and a fellow by the name of Angie, who owned a music store in town, after the games were over, he played the music and there was dancing. The Washington's Birthday Semi-Pro Tournament was held down there for 48 years.
Mr. Sirico, you've exceeded your 3 minutes. Do you need an additional minute or do you need longer?
Whatever you tell me.
If you want an additional minute, I'm happy to have the committee, the board take a vote.
I'd like a little longer.
All right, is there a motion to give Mr. Sirico an additional 3 minutes?
Motion moved.
Mr. Quintal makes the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Cohen seconds. Is there discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the vote. Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And myself, yes. You have 3 additional minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Civil defense was housed there for a number of years. There's probably more, but I can't remember them all. I have a hard time remembering what I got to do when I leave here. There's a long history of Memorial Hall. History is an important thing. We've lost a lot of it in town, but it's an important thing. History helps define what we are today. And more important than the history of Memorial Hall is that it's a memorial to the veterans. So I urge you to remember what Mr. Lydon said, what I said, and do the best job you can. And I have one quick comment, public comment. I think that I'm not trying to rebuild the building, but I think you guys should allow public comment and afterwards, and at least answer somewhat of what the person asks. They're kind enough to sit here all night and listen to your meeting. And I think you owe them that. If you can't answer them that night, you can say, we'll put you on the agenda and notify you when we're going to get to you. Once again, thank you very much. and I've said enough.
Thank you, Mr. Sirico. I believe we've exhausted our in-person comment, but I'll ask once more. Is there anyone else in person who'd like to make a comment? Mr. Malaguti?
Evan Malaguti, Precinct 2. Following what a couple others have said tonight, protecting our cultural assets is an important thing for the town, especially one of historical and entertainment value. I believe Memorial Hall is one of those that needs direct attention to it, not just for the vitality of the downtown and for the economics of the town alike, but also just for the cultural and interpersonal aspects as well too. Lots of residents as well as tourists attend all the concerts, wrestling, and also the recreation programs that are available there. Weddings are also available there as well too. But I want to stress though that while protecting our cultural assets, we also need to be prudent at looking at how we're actually going to function in the future for this. I believe a business plan needs to be done for this, not just for the vitality of the hall into the future, but also as a way to recoup some of the money back that's being spent by the taxpayers and also the visitors alike. We need to look at how we're going to improve functions for weddings and other catering events by adding a full-scale commercial kitchen in that actually is going to actually bring in additional revenue and bring in additional events. We need to look at the possibility of maybe annexing the visitor center into the back with bathrooms that are adequate for the downtown and the waterfront area that are open more than just 5 or 6 hours a day during certain events. We also need to make sure that while we are doing this as well too, whether or not funding is immediate from later in this week's vote by the CPC, that we also look at how we're going to have other avenues like that, not just grants, but also looking at rebates from the revitalization of the heating, cooling, HVAC of the building, and other aspects that we can get for decreasing the value, decreasing the cost for the residents, so like for this massive expenditure. So while we do all want Memorial Hall to be redone and to be the crowning jewel of the downtown like it is and will be, I believe that it needs to be thoroughly looked at top to bottom by nitpicking everything before we detail a final price tag and detail all the aspects of how we're going to provide funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in person who wishes to speak under public comment? Hearing and seeing none, is there anyone online?
No.
Excellent. That concludes public comment. We'll move on to the town manager's report.
Great. So I want to start by responding to a comment that was made last week challenging the select board to do more at the MBO building regarding indoor air quality testing. And I think what happened last week was the speaker forgot to mention that back in January 3rd, 2020, the town did take action. There were complaints levied against the town and the indoor air quality of the MBO building on Camelot Drive. So a survey was conducted by a company by the name of Boston Environmental. And so I'll just read you the results of the indoor air quality samples. This is regarding silica. Since the maximum concentration recorded was less than 6.8 micrograms per liter, the concentrations measured were far lower than the OSHA standards. So that's one. And the second one is about mold. Boston Environmental concludes that the concentrations of airborne mold are not a health concern under the conditions present during testing, although they may cause allergic reactions in some individuals. So I wanted to bring that up to set the record straight that the previous administration and board did take action when complaints were filed regarding indoor air quality at the MBO building. So I just want folks to be aware that that did take place. And if complaints were to arise at future buildings, we would continue to follow a similar pathway and do follow-up testing. I also want to respond to another comment that was made last week regarding burns. So it's been often suggested that the town should follow this Chapter 139. I know the board was interested in having the administration look into Chapter 139. But having an internal meeting with staff and town council, I can report to the board this evening that an order will be sent to the owner of Burt's to first order will be to secure the building. The second order will be to tear down the building. We're expecting to give them approximately 60 days to demolition the building. And that's under CMR 780, Section 116 for unsafe structures. So again, not following the Chapter 139 process, following a different process, but I wanted to report to the board that we plan to send an order to the owner by the end of this week to tear down Burt's. So there'll be many more updates to come, I can imagine. Moving on to some other updates throughout the town. The boardwalk over by the town boat ramp, as you know, has been closed for the entire summer. We were hoping to complete that project this past February, but for a few reasons beyond our control, that project had to be suspended. But you will see some activity over there. Right now, you will see at the boardwalk that the footings will be placed in the next couple weeks. Once the footings are laid down, we have to wait a few weeks for the final concrete precast sidewalk to be laid. We're expecting the precast sidewalk to be laid sometime towards the end of August. So again, more to come on that, but we're hoping to see the completion of that project real soon. Over at Jenny Pond, so right now, you will hopefully see tonight, if you go to Jenny Pond, once it gets dark, that the bridge will be lit up. We were hoping to light up the bridge and the new lights on the bridge last Friday. Again, for some reasons beyond our control, it got delayed. But it was reported this morning that we're hoping that the electricity will be turned on today, and so that bridge will be lit. Additionally, we are preparing to break ground this September for the bypass of Jenny Pond down to the brook. So that project continues to move forward as well. For the Route 80 cemetery project, we had a pre-bid conference last week. Bids will be accepted no later than August 7th. We're hoping to break ground on the Route 80 cemetery project in late September. We expect this will be about a 12-month project. And then last, I want to report that, as you probably have seen in the news, that there have been reports of West Nile virus in various communities in Massachusetts. You have seen reports in Triple E in Western Mass already. So we will be starting our informational campaign with our communications coordinator, Casey Kennedy. But just so folks are aware, it's already hot, mosquitoes are out. Certainly carrying the two different diseases. So just encourage folks to use DEET when they're outside. Try to be indoors after dusk, but if you're going to be outdoors after dusk, try to wear long pants and long sleeves. I know it's hot, but that's the precaution. And then if you have any standing water in your neighborhood or on your property, we'd ask that you remove that standing water. As we all know, that's a primary source of breeding for mosquitoes. So again, we'll be pushing that information throughout the community to try to mitigate the potential spread of Triple E or West Nile virus this mosquito season. Pending any questions, that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Derek. On the Burt's issue, the suggestion has been under Chapter 139, correct?
Yes.
Under Chapter 139, there would be a hearing for
That's
the
right.
owner. Is there a hearing?
There is not one. That's why we chose not to use Chapter 139. We chose to go to the building code under, that's 780 CMR. There's a section 116, it's called unsafe structures and equipment. We are citing that regulation in order to declare that the building is unsafe and needs to be torn down.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions from the board or comments for the town manager? Go ahead.
I understand with using the CMR 780 with Section 16 building code going in that direction. Last week, we were talking about the steps that would be involved. You outlined them just now verbally, but at some point, if in-house counsel or someone could just give us some sort of indication in writing the different steps that one would have to take, just so that we can refer to that, and if people are asking questions, we understand what will follow step one and step two. I still think it'd be good to have some sort of indication of what the steps would be relevant to the action that the town is moving in the direction of. So that would be nice at some point. Thank
We
you.
can do that.
Excellent. Anything else for the town manager? Hearing and seeing none, I will move on to select board discussion. Is there any new business, letters, or old business? Mr. Cohen?
Tonight and over the last week, we've heard quite a bit about Memorial Hall. Obviously, Memorial Hall, there's a great deal of passion around this building. The historical significance is, it is something that we have to pay a great deal of attention to. Obviously, it's a building that's memorializing, that came out of the Great War. And since then, it has marked those moments of sacrifice, but that has to be a major component of why we're restoring this building. We also have to pay attention to the fact that, like Mr. Sirico indicated, it marks moments in all of our lives. So it's a gathering place for all of these events that transpire. And obviously, the building is in need of repair. I'm very much in favor of supporting a level of restoration that is significant, that only benefits our downtown. Over the last 25 years, a number of people in this community have been dedicated to restoring buildings in our downtown that add to our economic development on a multitude of levels. So this is the crowning jewel in our town, Court Street experience as you come in through our town. So I want to point these things out because they're very important to me, but at the same time, when you look at community preservation funds, you're looking at a level of historical preservation that we have to be able to point to, and at the same time, start to look at how we are going to approach a future town meeting and how we address these issues. I think we have to build a larger sense of consensus along with preparing a report that would help guide us and build around this report the type of article that would bring to a future town meeting under a historical preservation structurals report. I have indicated in the past it's important that we consult with the building conservation specialist to determine what type of research we have to do at Memorial Hall to determine the level of historical preservation. I'd like to entertain it to the board members that we consider asking staff or directing staff to withdraw the article, withdraw the application from the CPC and replace it with a request to fall town meeting for the funding necessary to do the historical structures report, to do the historical analysis of the building. With this information, we could then build an application to a future town meeting, spring town meeting, that would be based on this information. So I think the first step we have to take is focusing on this. If this is going to be a historical request upon town meeting, we want to make sure that that historical work that we're doing is truly restoration, rehabilitation, and preservation as set forth in the Mass General Law 44B with the Community Preservation Act. So I think the first step is to go to fall town meeting with a recommendation. Currently I serve on the Community Preservation Committee, and if the board does direct staff that maybe we should withhold this article from fall town meeting, I'd be more than happy to go to the Community Preservation Committee and advocate for an article for funding for this important report that we can base our future activities in preservation of the Memorial Hall on. So I'd like to see if that was a possibility.
Does the CPC need to take action on every application that's in front of them?
No, a Community Preservation Committee can table an application to a future town meeting. We often did that in the past. It's been done many, many times. Sometimes the applicant will withdraw the application to perfect it. Sometimes the CPC will table it and work on gathering additional information for a clearer recommendation to town meeting, understanding the request and the amount of money being asked of town meeting. That's been done in the past. I do believe that a type of report of this nature we would use our administrative funds to do this research before town meeting, but this is probably breaking a threshold where we would have to go to we would have to go to town meeting and ask for a specific amount of money to do such a report in advance of any future article to town meeting.
Yeah, I would suggest that that's the path that we should take, asking CPC to table it, because it's not a posted agenda item, I don't know how deeply we can get into the deliberations as this board, but I would be in support of you going and doing that as a member of that committee. Mr. Quintel?
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to state a few things of my observation. I was also there last week at CPC, and it's very split, and there's concerns about interest from one member and the length of financing, and the number's really not in concrete yet, but I do agree with Bill and David that this get pulled, not for fall town meeting. It's needs a lot more information just for us as a board and a community to see what the actual price tag's going to be and how we're going to get there. I think we can get there. But when you're sitting at this desk, you know there's going to be a request for a new elementary school that's already coming. So let's not forget about that. And I have to say, my vote, if I'm sitting here, is for the elementary school first, if it's going to come to an override. I'll never support an override for Memorial Hall without knowing the school's coming right behind it. I think we need to put that in the plan. I know we have another fire station, it's called the Bat Cave down on Bourne Road. That's gonna be new construction. So I think we need to, that's why I think we need to take a breath and don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That building means a whole lot to me. I'm living here all my life. I'm just gonna put it right on the table. It's been a part of my upgrowing. I see it there. I'll never support tearing it down unless you can really prove to me that that's the only solution to that building. And I don't see building a brand new one in the 50s. And of course, those numbers need to be looked at. But I guess after I was trying to read the committee, and I did speak under public comment at their meeting, and my takeaway from that, and to Derek and Kevin on Friday, was we should pull that and take our time and do it right, and get everybody's support, or get as much support as we can. Back in the years, one part Mr. Sirico forgot was when they did the last remodel there years ago. I don't know if you remember this. The select board thought they were going to take the keys from the veterans. Well, that didn't go over well at all, and we didn't take the keys. So it was actually built for them as a memorial, and they've reached out to me. They want to know if they should have filled the room tonight, and I told them that wasn't necessary, not yet. So they're watching. They're just being patient because they want it too. And not to go on too long, but Everett touched base, because he sits on the VSB as I do, as your representative. No, not as your representative, as the Chamber's representative. And we do need a new visitors building. That building is had its time, and Lee Filson will come in and tell you that, you know, she comes in, tries for us, Steve Leiden's our chairman, that she needs money to do this and that, and every year we tell her, no, you know, we're not giving you all that money to, you know, to go to the restrooms, you have to walk through the building behind the counter. It's really not set up. And we hear this all the time about the bathrooms. So if we are gonna do this, even though it could be a later phase, you know, there could be some funding there. And, you know, just me just talking. Visitor center comes down, we pick up 10 parking spaces, whatever it is. We take that revenue and we help pay for the VSB part of it. I mean, these are the kind of things we have to think about. And Everett's absolutely right about a kitchen. I know a little bit about food service, and I can tell you the kitchen that I saw, it needs a major overhaul. It needs equipment that you can actually have functions. You start popping weddings in there and functions like that, between the alcohol and the food, you're talking like $20,000-$30,000 an event profit. So if it's done right, and that might not be renting it out to caterers, could be a shared kitchen. I ran it by Stephen Cole, he was at the CPC last week. Of course, he doesn't have the authority, nor do I, but I said, what do you think of the idea? I think it's great. Yeah, I was a little taken back that the downtown waterfront district didn't have a representative there, unless that's what Steve was doing there, but he didn't say that, so that would be Mr. Veo. And not only to pick on him, because I'm not picking on him anyway, I just happened to notice that there was nobody there from downtown. Now, if your restaurant or whatever you have down there is benefiting, then why wouldn't you show up and show, maybe this will come. And I really think that's why the community's gotta wrap around. And we've done some big projects, this one here, and you hear me and John go back and forth that, I wasn't for spending the kind of money that was spent on this building, but I did support the deck, because I was a member of the PGDC at the time, who actually paid for the deck in full. So that was one of my clinches. But anyway, not to get off the subject too much. I'd like to see it pulled from Thursday's meeting, and I don't know what the exact order is. Maybe here's some other slots here. Whether it's a short-term committee, or have staff give us our options. Don't forget now, the VSB survives off room tax. That hasn't been looked at, and I've been an advocate for this for 20 years or so. That legislation needs to be looked at, and I think we could increase it enough. And if the state, the legislature, even to pass the meals tax, that would be, I don't know, Derek will come back with some recommendations if they were, but I think we all have to work together, grants. And I did ask Lee Filson, off the record, on the side, if she'd support that. She said, absolutely, that's a wonderful idea. So I think we all need to think about it, lay out a plan, and figure it out. We can do it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Quinto. Ms. Iaquinto?
Yeah, I'm just going to chime in here. First of all, Mr. Quintal, I was at the Downtown Waterfront District meeting on Wednesday, the day prior, and they were all very, very supportive of improving, renovating Memorial Hall.
Were they?
And I think that they expressed their support to Mr. Brindisi through a conduit. But believe me, they were very supportive of it.
Okay.
Really wanted to see it happen. As someone who did not grow up in Plymouth, I certainly didn't have the same experiences with Memorial Hall as many people did, but I can certainly appreciate the value that it has to the community, as well as to the vibrancy of the downtown area. So I would love to see us approach this project in the right way, as my colleagues have been saying. So I too would support pulling it now. To me, it feels like a great plan that needs to be more fully fleshed out. With all different perspectives looked at, the historic perspective, the economic development perspective, and other viewpoints that I think would make this a really, really special and unique place. So I wouldn't want to see it rushed through either, so I would agree with you.
Thank you, Ms. Iaquinto. Is there any further select board discussion? New business, old business, letters? Mr. Cohen?
In light of this conversation, when I attend the Community Preservation Committee this Thursday, I will be letting them know the temperament of the board as it relates to this question, and asking to table the application, but replace that with a article to fall town meeting to do the proper examination of the historical examinations that we need to do to build a future application to a future town meeting. So taking the temperament that I'm hearing here tonight, I'll express that as your liaison to the Community Preservation Committee this Thursday night.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. And obviously there's an appetite among this board to discuss Memorial Hall at a more deep level. So I will also speak with the chairman and ask that he put this on a future agenda pending whatever action the CPC takes at their next meeting. Any other select board discussion? All right. Our next meeting is going to be August 12th. There will be no meeting on August 5th. The August 12th meeting will be on the road. We will be at Plymouth South High School. Plymouth South High School, yes. No, Plymouth South High School is next. We, having concluded our agenda, unless there is an objection, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Mr. Quintal makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Excellent. Ms. Iaquinto seconds. I'll call the roll unless there's discussion. Mr. Quintal,
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto,
Yes.
and Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.